Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_that. Well, we may as well dive straight into the Romeo Doubs situation. That's kind of the big news of the day, I suppose. Doubs has been back, ready to rock and roll. He's expected to play or will play, whatever the specific language is he's going to play. But the media was able to catch up with him. From what I can tell, it seems as though it was mostly I'm just here so I don't get fined kind of a deal. I don't mean that literally. You understand the Marshawn Lynch thing. He was definitely coached up, and by that I mean they told him, if there's anything you don't want to talk about, just say I'm not comfortable with that. He repeated that numerous times. I don't want to delve into that, or I'm not comfortable with that, or whatever the case may be. Some details came out. It really, all it does is further confuse the situation. It's basically what we've been saying or hypothesizing for a long time. But, again, trying to specifically just narrow the thing down or pin it down seems impossible. But a couple notes we did get. He did explain that he had personal issues going on mentally, but chose not to delve into the specifics. He did say it's not related to his role in the offense or any physical or mental health issues with him or his family. I don't really believe that it wasn't about his role in the offense. That's pretty much what everybody has confirmed so far, but whatever. Reports initially said that he was frustrated over his role in the offense, but he denied this, making it clear that the decision to miss practice wasn't related to dissatisfaction with the team or coaching staff. He said winning games is the bigger picture. It wasn't about his individual role. Again, don't really believe that. He acknowledged his communication with the team could have been better, stating he wished he would have handled the situation differently, particularly how he informed the team about his absence. After he was suspended, Doubs rejoined the team, and LaFleur confirmed that Doubs is going to play. And that's about it. There was, let's see if I saved it, if I was smart about it. Of course not. It was one of the Packers beat writers essentially said one of the things that I had kind of assumed, and that is they would not have suspended him if it was a mental health issue. Now it's weird because it seems to be sort of a mental thing, but it's not specifically a mental health issue. Like, where do you draw that line? I mean, he clearly was. What even is the word? There's something going on emotionally. Right? Maybe we can put it that way. And it doesn't quite cross the line into mental health as far as severe depression or any of those kinds of things. And I think maybe there was a period of time where they needed to assess that. Is this sort of a mental health issue that we need to address? And I think when they came down to it, even though it may have been somewhat of an emotional, I don't want to say breakdown necessarily, but I mean, it was clearly, an irrational thing and he's upset or whatever, but then they realized they had to suspend him. I don't really fully understand. I'm kind of tired of talking about it, to be honest. I think you handle it however you want as a fan. I just see it as one of those things you stick in your back pocket and realize that it may be a problem one way or another. He pretending that it's nothing and everybody can just move on. I mean, we're gonna move on. But that's always going to be in the back of everybody's mind. The other wide receivers, Jordan, the coach, the GM, everybody remembers this. Especially having come through the Aaron Rodgers situation where, he was dissatisfied before Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst got here. There were little tiny things, not even anywhere near as severe as the situation with Romeo Doubs, but little tiny things here and there about he's not happy, this, that, or the other, and you can see how that can blow up. And unfortunately for Doubs, he does not have the star power for the team to give two craps about him if push comes to shove. If he starts getting whatever, then it's like, okay, bye. It's not even going to be a hesitation. Beyond that, Luke Musgrave was officially put on IR. That was expected. They basically said that they were going to be doing that. They did bring in tight end John Fitzpatrick, as I believe I mentioned on yesterday's podcast, off the Falcons practice squad. However, they're not planning to add him to the active roster, which means he's likely going to be put on the practice squad, which means somebody from the practice squad is likely going to be elevated Unsure at this time who exactly that's going to be, but expect that to happen. We could delve into Fitzpatrick, but I just don't really see why that's necessary because he's not going to be playing. If he was going to be on the active roster, okay. As it stands right now, though, we'll see. Right? Gutekunst is going to play around with the guy, but with that, let's kick it over to the official injury report. It's not a terrible report, all things considered. I mean, the Musgrave thing came out of nowhere. That was a kick in the stomach. And obviously, Devontae Wyatt is out. He has not practiced all week, but as I said, I mean, it's not terrible news. They didn't put him on IR. I wouldn't be surprised if he at least starts practicing in some limited capacity next week. We'll have to see how that goes. But Jair is listed as questionable. I'm hopeful that he will play. Zane Anderson, Kenny Clark, Edgerrin Cooper, Jonathan Ford, Elton Jenkins, Tucker Kraft, Zach Tom, Carrington Valentine were all on the injury report but are full go for the game. The questionables outside of Jair, Jordan Morgan, we'll see. It's a very frustrating situation with him, but whatever, get healthy and we'll see what happens. Aaron Mosby is questionable with a shoulder injury. Rasheed Walker popped up recently on the injury report, as in like just Friday that happened. Knee injury. And then Christian Watson listed as questionable. I am pretty optimistic that we're going to see quite a few guys back. I'm not going to speak on Jair necessarily, but I have a good feeling about Christian. We're going to have Doubs back. Outside of that, we just need Rasheed, man. I mean, that is a big one. We need Rasheed to play in this game. We'll have to see if there's any real concern there or if it's just kind of a minor deal that he's going to work through. I mean, remember Jair with his injury. Now, groin injury and knee injury, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I mean, knee injury has a wide range of what it could be, but I think Jair popped up on Friday. He was completely fine. He had an injury during practice, and he's been out for a while now. So I'm hoping that isn't a similar situation with Rasheed. He was limited. It's not like he wasn't able to practice or whatever. They just kind of dialed it back, but makes a big difference, man. He's been a good left tackle for us. I know the penalties have been a problem. He's not the greatest run blocker in the world, but he is a consistent pass blocker, and we need that, like real bad. Quick peek over at the Arizona Cardinals' final injury report. Offensive tackle Kelvin Beachum is questionable with a hamstring injury. Matt Prater, their kicker, interestingly enough, is questionable in this game with a left knee injury. Garrett Williams, cornerback, questionable. Christian Jones, offensive tackle, is questionable. And then Darius Robinson, defensive lineman, is out. And Zay Jones, wide receiver, is out. It's kind of interesting. Oh, he has a hamstring injury. That's right. He was initially out for suspension, and that's what's listed there first. And I'm like, why are you limited with the suspension? No, he's got a hamstring injury as well. So nothing super earth-shattering there, I don't think. We'll have to see. Again, there's a lot of questionables. If they don't end up going, especially the offensive linemen, that could make a big difference. As far as the backup, somebody asked me this recently, who even is our backup? I don't know, but I think it's Dillard. I mean, it's kind of a good news, bad news situation. I mean, Dillard has, first-round picks, so all the athleticism and everything is there. Not that it necessarily matters. A lot of talented guys bust out in the NFL. But the good news is, I mean, they brought him in, they've worked with him, and he seems to be, at least in the offseason, he actually did a really good job. Now, Royce Newman dominated in his first offseason, too. It didn't mean much, but, not impossible that they brought a guy in and he seems okay. I mean, we had some success with a quarterback from that same team that had the same situation, right? Two Titans guys we brought in, real high expectations, real low performance. And, we had one of them on the field for 2 games and led us to 2 victories. So we'll see how that goes. As far as Jordan Morgan, I mean, one of the big questions there also is, even if he comes back, is he going to play? According to the coaches, Adam Stenovich in particular, he said that when Morgan gets back, they want to get back to that rotation thing. Now, I hate that with a passion. I really do. But I also kind of understand it because, the other option is to do what the Packers have always done, which I also complained about, so I got to pick a freaking lane here. But that is essentially to redshirt Jordan Morgan. Like, look, you're not ready for this, and we're not going to do it. That or just throw him in there full time. But, if the Packers don't feel comfortable with him, the next best option is we slowly ease him back in, and then hopefully he just takes the job. It's the only reason why I could think that they would do that is they really want Jordan Morgan to take over that job. But right now he's just not good enough, so we either sit him or we get him a couple snaps here and there. I don't like it because we've heard so much about offensive lines and how it takes time for these guys to have a cohesive unit that works together. And this constant changing and rotating thing, it just seems like it could cause some problems. But whatever. I'm excited about Jordan Morgan and hopefully what he can bring to that right guard spot. It's a big deal if we can get a really solid player in there. Another interesting thought, what if Jordan Morgan plays tackle if Walker can't go? That'd be crazy. It would probably suck because I don't know that he'd be great at it and then everybody would hate him, but it's an interesting thought. I wonder if they would do it. I don't know if they would. Tell you what, let's take an early break. There were a lot of press conferences, some of them from the day before that I missed. I especially want to get to Tucker Kraft because it's just freaking hilarious. He is rapidly it's one of those things where the more you hear, the more excited you get, not only because his personality is perfect, but just there's little things that are mentioned, and you just think, this team, whether they're right or wrong, I think Matt LaFleur and the rest of the coaches look at Tucker Kraft and say, this guy's a freaking superstar. This guy is an absolute superstar. And it just gets me jacked up because I'm watching it happen, but I'm sitting here going, I don't know. Like he seems good. I don't know if this is going to continue or what exactly is going to happen. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Why don't we take our first break? We'll be right back. All right, let's rip through some of these press conferences. I'm not going to go through each little soundbite because that takes forever. Rich Bisaccia, it's from a couple days ago, but I didn't catch it in time for yesterday's podcast. Talking about Arizona special teams, he mentioned that the Cardinals have tried 10 fake punts in the last 7 years under Jeff Rodgers. So that is something that every once in a while you get. Feel like Detroit used to be that way, super aggressive. But you get these certain teams that you just never know. They might do something crazy. So something to keep an eye on. He said their focus is on preparing for athletic punters and physical punt rush teams. So it sounds like they really get after it. He said DJ Dallas is one of the top kickoff returners, averaging almost 35 yards per return. Not going to matter. I'm guessing they're just going to kick it out of the end zone. And he mentioned he's not really worried about Prater missing or not because Ryland is the backup and he did quite well last week. He said Ryland actually did have a workout with them and he impressed during it. He did acknowledge the potential for the Bo Melton special teams matchup or whatever, which would be interesting to keep an eye on. Adam Stenovich also did a press conference, mentioned Ben Sims is going to be ready for a larger role. I think they're excited about it. I mean, Ben Sims is largely a blocking guy, and I think they get more of that. I think they're looking more for that lately, and they've been getting it much in a better way from Ben Sims than they are from Musgrave. So I think that'll be just fine. Mentioned that penalties and drops are a main reason for inconsistency in moving the ball. There's no doubt about that. He mentioned that a promising drive in the fourth quarter was derailed by a penalty and a drop. I mean, that stuff. I mean, if they just cleaned that up, this team would be rocking and rolling right now. Talked about Rasheed Walker, mentioned he's improving, no penalties in recent games, attributed focus to improved technique. Still learning to be a pro and needs to maintain consistency. I love that. The fact that they're like, yeah, he's still got a long way to go. He's still learning. He's still improving. It's like, he's pretty freaking good, man. Talking about Jordan Morgan, he says he's a high potential player, eager to get him more involved once he's fully healthy. Morgan has improved his fundamentals, particularly in transitioning from tackle to guard. We have noticed that in the very small amount of time that we've seen him. I remember at first it was a real bad situation. It reminded me of Sean Ryan, where it's like, where is the guy? You expect a first-round pick to be getting snaps with the ones, or at least with the twos, consistently mixing in with the ones, and that just wasn't the case. Didn't look very good. But then he started to get better. The grades started getting better, and the injuries have kind of derailed that. But we'll see. We'll keep working on him, and we'll see what his ceiling actually looks like. Said he's happy to have Romeo back. Didn't really want to discuss anything else. He mentioned that Fitzpatrick, the tight end we just picked up, previously met with him during the 30 visit 2 years ago. So when they do the draft stuff, said he's a big body receiver capable of making plays in the passing game. So kind of like a Musgrave type from his perspective. Working on getting Josh Jacobs more involved in the passing game, especially scheming some touchdowns, some getting out into the red zone, throwing to him and whatnot, trying to get him in the end zone with that. And just mention overall, they got to find ways to get Jacobs more opportunities in the receiving game. They talked about that coming into the game or into the season, that he was going to see a larger role as a receiver, and we haven't really seen that so much, not yet. Talking about Jordan, said he has an aggressive mindset. He's learning when to take checkdowns. Utilizing checkdowns can lead to explosive plays, as seen with plays like with Josh Jacobs, Jaden Reed, etc. Talked briefly about the Arizona Cardinals. Said the Cardinals force turnovers, make key stops in short yardage situations, and they bring confusing defensive looks that create negative plays for their opponents. Again, that's sort of what they try to do, have not been very successful as evidenced by, the results. Kicking it over to Jeff Hafley. Talking about Kyler Murray, dynamic player, strong arm, quick release, exceptional ability to send plays. Said he can make defensive players look like the Three Stooges, guys just running into each other and stuff, which is the case. I mean, I think that, especially that one game, I think it was him against, what was it, Denver or something, where he had his no, it wasn't Denver. Whatever. He had his one really, really good game. There were situations like that where you got premier players and they're just looking stupid out there. So we have faced guys like Anthony Richardson and Jalen Hurts so far, so that's good preparation for Murray as a mobile guy. As far as our own defense, talking about Evan Williams, recognition and anticipation of that play, the game-winning play, was really impressive, especially for a rookie, he says. Intelligence and game preparation allowed him to stay poised in a high-pressure moment and make key defensive stops, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'd be surprised if he really loses that spot, because, it's not just like a raw talent thing necessarily, like 40 time or, the combine type stuff. I think mentally he's playing at a high level, and I think the coaches are impressed, and I think it's leading to results, and I'm pretty excited about that. Mentioned Javon Bullard, physical play, run defense. Want to make sure they increase his involvement in the game. Again, I do like Javon Bullard. I think it's just hard to find a spot for him. A lot of people want him 100% in the slot. As much as I've kind of criticized Keyshawn, I don't think he really did a fantastic job. I don't know if that's the general fan perception. It wasn't a terrible job. He just reminded me of Keyshawn. Keyshawn is really solid coming downhill, tackles in the backfield, not so much in coverage. That's exactly what Bullard was. But it was his first shot. We'll see how it goes. I did say Bullard's versatility allows him to contribute in multiple roles, such as blitzing and defending against the run. So we'll see. I'm thinking they're going to try. I honestly don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, especially if Jair comes back. I mean, are they going to rotate Keyshawn and Bullard, or I don't know. He said he was impressed with rookies Cooper and Evans' contribution to the pass rush and pressure and whatnot in critical moments, especially on fourth down. Cooper applies pressure that forces quick throw, leading to incomplete pass and key stops. So, talking about Jair, saying his return, obviously what it really does is open up the playbook. I think the team has to compensate a lot when he's not there. And if you have a guy like Jair, it really gives you a lot more that you can do. So, it's a big deal to have Jair back. Kind of an interesting take that goes along with what I said. I think it was on Packernet After Dark last night. I'm not sure. But talking about the whole chip block thing, which I want to get to that in just a second. Obviously, the certain buzzwords and whatnot are being thrown around, and one of them in Green Bay sphere is chip blocks. Oh, my Lord, with the frickin' chip blocks. It's like leverage when we were trading Rodgers or something. Like, I don't want to hear chip block anymore. But Hafley says there are methods to neutralize chip blocks, but they can't be used all the time. But then he goes on to say the defense's success is viewed as a collective effort, with players not focusing on individual stats, but rather overall team success. And I had mentioned that. It's a very weird thing to assume that it's the case, because if this was easy to do, everybody would be doing it, rather than paying $30 million a year for pass rushers. But it seems as though the pressure is not really a problem. It's just the main guys that we expect to be hoarding all of the pressure stats are not. Their stats are quite a bit lower, but the collective effort seems to be getting there. So I don't know. I don't know if there is something with the way that he does things where it's not really about just letting guys hunt, which I thought was the whole point, but rather, with the sort of kind of like how Matt LaFleur operates in offense, where I've said before, you might have a play that you've got 4 guys running routes, but really it's just one guy running a route. And all the other guys are just used as decoys to make sure this one guy gets through. That may be to some degree what we're dealing with Hafley, in which case you've got Rashawn and all these other guys who are quote-unquote pass rushing, but really are just kind of trying to do something to set up the offensive line to be in a certain position so that when this guy comes around, stunts, twists, comes up the middle, whatever, he's home free. Maybe. I don't know. And then he finally praises Keyshawn Nixon, said he's quietly having a great season. Physical, good coverage, success in both man and zone. His versatility, particularly in both pass and run defense, has been valuable. He deserves more credit for his contributions. I'll defer to Jeff Hafley on that, I suppose. I'm actually interested in going back. Let me just look real quick. I'm just curious. I want to look for the season. I want to look at NFL Pro and just see what his coverage looks like. Because, again, I like him as a sort of box safety type of player. So the coverage I feel like has been lacking, but maybe I'm incorrect about that. Not that, again, like EPA and all that is the be-all, end-all. There may be more to it than that, but it's all I have to go on. So that's all I'm going to go on. So catch rate over expected, he is about dead average. So we got McDuffie, Quay, Stokes, and, well, that doesn't count. McDuffie, Quay, and Stokes are in the bad column. In the positive column, you got Jair, Bullard, and Xavier McKinney. Keyshawn is kind of right there in the middle. Coverage EPA, Keyshawn is exactly a 0, so not good or bad. Javon, McDuffie, Quay, and Stokes are all bad. Stokes real bad. On the good side, you've got Jair and McKinney. So, again, I deliberately stayed away from PFF because, don't want to just base it all on that. But, honestly, I'll take it. If he can do the run defense thing and he is a just dead average coverage guy, all right, fair enough, I guess. Matt LaFleur did maybe the shortest press conference he's ever done. Lasted like 4 minutes. But he said Romeo Doubs is going to play. Tucker Kraft popped up in the injury report, but he should be good to play. Talked a little bit about Fitzpatrick, the new signing. Nothing really interesting there. And then he talked about Keyshawn, again, praise for his versatility, playing both a nickel and cornerback position. And I suppose that's probably part of why the coaches really like him. They kicked him out to the boundary, and he still was able to step up and play. It's kind of a coach's dream thing. Admired for competitive nature, work ethic, ability to respond well to hard coaching. Consistent mentality and willingness to be coached hard makes him a valuable player for the defense. So, otherwise, he talked a little bit about the Arizona Cardinals. Said the defense is sound, does a good job disguising their schemes. Again, I'm sure this is one of those things on tape. It's like, oh, that's kind of a cool little thing there or whatever. Again, in practice, they can say whatever they want. In practice, it's not there. He also went on to say specifically, Budda Baker is a key playmaker, relentless and intelligent, posing a significant challenge for the Packers. He was one of the few guys that grades out fairly well. Not an elite player by any stretch, but decent enough. Matt LaFleur called him a coach's dream because he's a relentless, he's got leadership ability, high football IQ, disrupts plays, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's delve into Tucker Kraft here a little bit, and then we're going to kick it over to calls, but it's just, the guy is nothing but pure enjoyment. Granted, there's been some mistakes, right? I know everybody's mad at him for not, quote-unquote, finishing his route or whatever, which led to the pick six. I'm not counting that one, but the major boneheaded move of Tucker Kraft was when the clock is ticking, we need to preserve the clock, and rather than going out of bounds, he stays in bounds, and then the ball gets punched out and it gets turned over. That was rough. That was rough. But other than that, I think Tucker has been an absolute dream. The funny thing is, the interview, and this is from a couple days ago, it started with he was clocked at, Tucker said the Packers had him at 19.4 miles an hour. That's fast. That is really fast for a tight end. That's crazy. So, Musgrave is a little bit faster. He's the speed guy and all that, and there are other guys that can crack 20, 21, 22. I think, I don't know. Probably not 22, 20-ish. But that's insane to have a guy like Tucker who is more of a freaking bulldog, strong power or whatever, to be able to crack, 19.5 miles per hour on a run. That's wild. But let's be honest, the main thing that we've been talking about with Tucker has been the fact that he went on a podcast and said that he likes to tell opponents that he's going to burn their childhood house down. So somebody finally got to ask him about it. Here's what he had to say.
Recent that you did to the podcast, burning their opponents' houses down with children in it or something like that. I mean, if you don't mind.
Not with children in it. Let's make sure that's not on the record. No, I mean, just, I don't know. The game's fun, and when you get a chance to just say something like that, and you get one of the highest paid people on their team to just turn around and look at you like, what did you just say? I just try to. I'm out there having fun and I'm playing loose. Sure, I'll say some crazy stuff, but it doesn't knock me off my game. It probably doesn't even get into the head of my opponent. They probably are just like, this guy's weird. But, that was a fun podcast. Good opportunity, I guess, to get my personality out there, but I don't say that too often.
He says, I don't say that too often. So what, you say it like 4 or 5 times in a season? I'm picturing like that's a thing I said once, or maybe that was just like an example of the kind of stuff he says. He's like, no, I don't say that too much. I say it only once in a while. This guy's he is weird, and I love it. Then there was this is another one of my favorite little clips here. This is a little bit later on, just talking about his future to-be legacy.
Not to get ahead of things, but a lot of people compare you. You could have, you're 23 years old. So
yes.
You have all the potential you've seen. You could be like that next tight end that the Packers haven't had, since maybe Jermichael Finley, maybe a Gronk type of style. What do you, when you see people say that kind of stuff about you, your potential, what do you think?
And I pray that I have a lengthy career and I can do the things that people believe I can do. That's amazing that people hold me to that standard. I hold myself to that standard. But comes to a point where I want to forge my own legacy in this league. I think I play with a unique play style. And I'm just going to see how that carries me. I'm gonna play, like I said, as hard as I can and be as violent as I can on every snap I'm in. And if that takes me to 7 years or to 10 years, I'm going to be lucky to play every snap I'm in on. So,
what a beautiful, beautiful answer to that question. Everything about it just, it's just, Tucker, what, I don't know. We'll let this continue because this is a good one too.
So you've had Jordan back now for the past couple of games. Just, what's the relationship been like? How is just the progress moving? Because obviously the last 2 games it seemed like it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, the mojo feels back. With whether it's no huddle and we're catching signals or we're using our cadence to bait teams off sides, just kind of our old groove. We feel like we hit it, and hopefully we can further get in stride and continue to start hot on first quarter. But yeah, it's been great to have everybody back.
Then I wanted to save this one for last, and it kind of sucks because it's a little bit visual, but it's still really awesome and it gets me excited.
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes I do that.
Oh, by the way, the question, I skipped it on accident. The question was essentially, do you ever have to take yourself out because of your conditioning? Like you're tired and you want to take a couple snaps off. You've been playing a lot of snaps. Do you ever say, hey, sub me in or whatever?
And my position coach will look at me and he'll go.
So he shakes his head like, don't do it. No. Because you tap the top of your head like, hey, I want to come out. And he's saying his position coach is looking at him going, don't do that. You stay out there. It really just leads me to believe, first of all, he's out there constantly for a tight end. His snap count is incredibly high. And he's saying even when he wants to come out just for a play or two for a breather, the team is like, no, don't. We're kind of obligated when you say you need a breather to take you out. But I'm going to go ahead and recommend you absolutely do not take yourself out. they depend on him a lot. They really do. It leads me to believe that the position coach has been in meetings with Matt LaFleur and the offensive coordinator in which they have said that guy needs to be out there all the time. That guy is his ability to block and catch on this offense, the things that he does for this offense. We need him out there all the time. Why else would he say, hey, I need a breather, come get some water, catch my breath? And the position coach is like, don't. You're going to get me in trouble. Do not come off the field. Matt's going to yell at me. Just you have to stay out there. Now, the only other thing is it's an indictment on all the other tight ends, but I don't think so. Ben Sims might not be the greatest in the world, but he's no worse than any other tight end we've had for a long time. I think he does a good job with blocking or whatever, gives us a nice little heavy personnel and whatnot. But let's just say I choose to believe that they want him out there for every play because they know the guy is an absolute superstar. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get to some calls. We'll be right back. Just want to remind everybody again, we've had a few people sign up, and I appreciate that. You can sign up for free, packernet.substack.com on Sundays or on Packer games or whatever. And we can do it whenever. Honestly, it doesn't have to be just for games. It's a thing that I can do. We're going to have our live chat. We're not going to be doing a live stream. I'm going to be hanging out with the whole family, having a little party. But I'm going to have the laptop there, and we're going to be live chatting through the game. If you want to come hang out, I would encourage you to do so. Again, that's packernet.substack.com. Just go get yourself a free subscription. All right, let's get this thing started with Craig.
Hey, Ryan, it's Craig from Indiana.
What's up?
Been listening to the podcast, and I agree with you on the kind of lack of patience that I do hear from other people, other podcasters even, about, just still trying to figure it out, and the drops from Wick, and, it's too far into the season. And the drops, I don't care, again, about history and Devontae and others. It's just this unacceptable. You've been playing football your whole life, and it just blows me away that people can drop it that much. I'm not sure what a new thing they are going to learn, to your point. So hopefully this is where we figure things out. But Arizona's a little tougher than I think everyone expected before the season started. So hoping for, obviously, a win. A couple comments about the last game. One is Tucker Kraft was amazing. But I will say when I looked at the pick six, it did look like he just totally stopped running. And I watched it a couple times where the defender kind of kept going where I think the run was going. And it's not to blame Tucker, but it does look like if he had kept just running, that either he catches that ball or at least is able to bat it away. And if he catches it the way he's been running, who knows where he could have gone with that ball. Because I think he could have blown by the guy who ended up intercepting him. But I know Jordan wasn't trying to throw it to him and everything else, but just watching it, and I noticed it during the game, but then watched it back again. And again, not trying to throw blame, but it's too bad if he just keeps on his route a little bit. I think that ends up a lot different. The other thing about Stokes, I also noticed that he was falling a lot. And I wondered if that's where his speed hurts him. His 40-yard dash was like a 4.25, and you wonder if I don't know if he just runs so fast that when he tries to make a cut that he loses his footing and falls, or if it's, to your point, he's not mentally fast. So he's not anticipating right, or he's out of position, and again, he's got to make up ground or cut a different direction than he was anticipating, and he falls. Xavier McKinney's 40-yard dash was a 4.63, I think, so obviously slower, but he's got that mental speed, right? He can anticipate, he can get there quickly, and so it's probably not worth researching, but I just wondered if there's, if there are cornerbacks who are fast, but they're...
Part two.
Sorry I got cut off. But I was just wondering if that is the case for quarterbacks who are super fast, if maybe they're not effective, and the speed's actually a little bit of a detriment for them. Just a thought. All right, keep up the good work. Thanks. Talk soon. Bye.
I would assume there are some fast corners that are very successful. I do have some skepticism about the really tall, fast guys that are not massively agile. Maybe that's unfair to classify it that way, but that's the way it seems. I mean, Stokes, I hate to say it because we talked about it when we drafted him, and it was one of those, like, don't say that, that's not funny. But Stokes and Kevin King reminded me of them, you know, I mean, how tall is Stokes? I don't think he's like Kevin King tall. Oh, he's 6'5". I thought he was 6'1". Well, whatever. 6 foot. Oh, no, it says 6'1" over here. I don't think that nobody. Did you get a guy with decent size, right? He's not like a 5'9" guy. He's 6. I think Kevin King was like 6'4". 6'3". Okay. It sounds good because you got the speed, you got the height for all the jump ball stuff or whatever. I just wonder if it makes it really hard as far as agility. I mean, just from a physics standpoint, you got speed, and you've got this thing that's just a pole that goes straight. I don't know if that design is built for agility. I don't know. Again, it's been an observation by all of us, him slipping all over the place. He is probably our worst cover guy on the team right now based on what I just looked at as far as the statistics are concerned. I don't think Valentine is a great corner, but it seems like he's probably a more consistent, less scary option in my opinion. So, bottom line is I think we're going to have to probably go in a different direction at some point here. Hello? We'll get under the butt dial here. I'm waiting because it transcribes something pretty hilarious. There it is. There it is.
Huh?
What? Is that it? Yeah, it just said, "Mama, bring on the heat." And I was like, "Oh, dang. I'm about to get a little spicy on the podcast here. Dang." I'll omit who that call was from, but that was funny.
Ryan, I wasn't sure if you had seen this posted or not, but in history, one you to see that Luke Musgrave and his draft class, somebody went back and they basically looked at the ratings for every single defensive end in his draft class. And I believe he was taken second in that class, only to, Anderson that went to the Texans.
Yeah.
Everybody after him, you got McDonald here for the Jets, and then there's a lot of guys I should not name off. But out of that group, out of all defensive ends drafted, he is at the very bottom for performance and for pressures and for just overall, I think, rating, according to this post that I saw on another Packers news page. And I know that he wasn't quite up to snuff and being a draft and development kind of guy. He didn't get a lot of chance last year. But that's alarming. That is very alarming. So, I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder if there doesn't need to be maybe every once in a while a swing or a home run and move up in the draft and get somebody who was not draft and developed, but some of his greatest play day one. Rasheed Gary was a draft and development, or IRAS. Luke Van Ness, draft and develop, IRAS, I'm sorry, now pronounced Aiken. So, I don't know, man. I love the guys. I really am rooting for them. But it's hard not to look at these drop-offs for Rashawn and for Luke Van Ness. again, the production is not there. It is not there.
I mean, the problem I have with that is it's not Lucas Van Ness. It's not Rashawn Gary. It's literally every single person on the defensive line. Everyone. There is not one person that hasn't completely fallen off. I mean, if Rashawn and Lucas Van Ness are busts based on what's happening right now, Kingsley's got to go, Preston's got to go, Kenny's got to go, Brooks has got to go, Wooden's got to go. Every single person. Everybody. Lucas Van Ness has got to go. I cannot analyze somebody based on what's happening this year. I just can't. Also, I'm looking at it. He's not the worst, but out of, pass rush productivity, Lucas Van Ness is 19th out of 23 edge rushers from that year. Obviously, some of these guys are late round guys, but Caleb Murphy was a first round pick. He's lower. Isaiah Foskey was a second round pick. Who else is on here? Let's just go through them. Bing, 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 bing. Yeah, Miles Murphy, first round pick. Foskey, second round pick. Tui Pulotu is a second round pick. Fourth round pick. Third round pick. Fourth round pick. Fifth round pick. Seventh round pick. But again, it's like I just can't use this year to judge anything. Because it's either there's something wrong with the scheme, there's something wrong with the way that they're coaching this, or every single player suddenly is really unbelievably horrible at football. And again, that's not a Lucas Van Ness, Rashawn Gary thing. That's everybody. Picking two, right? It would be like me just coming out and being like, you know what? Wooden and, I don't know, Preston. I'm sick of it. They got to go. They're just not producing. Be like, why pick those two? I have no idea why you're picking those two. It's super random. It just, I don't know. That's not to say he's good. It has nothing to do with that. But, Lucas Van Ness last year was 10th out of 35 edge rushers as a rookie. So not great, but he was better. So I don't know, man. The bottom line is I don't know what the problem is. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's easy to just say, well, it's bust. Okay, then every single one of them is a bust, including the ones that weren't a bust up until this year. Just not a satisfactory answer for me. Now, again, if we just get back into the I don't really care, I need production thing, then fine. But again, we can't just highlight two of them. It's everybody. There is nobody you're allowed to like, aside from maybe Devontae Wyatt. And even he wasn't elite. He was just satisfactory. Like, he's the only one that's performing in a way that's like, okay, that's good enough. I don't know. And again, if I hear him one more time about a freaking chip block, by the way, let me pull that up real quick. I saw PFF posted this, and I'm like, of course. Of freaking course they had to make an article about this. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was because they heard Packers fans talk about Rashawn chip block so many times that they're like, let's do an article about it. Rashawn Gary is the third most chipped edge rusher in football. Well, that's it. That settles the case. That's why. Duh. 21% of the time he's chipped. First of all, if you're a listener to the podcast and that is able to sway you, then you're just begging to be swayed. First of all, what are some questions we should ask? Who else has chipped a lot? Myles Garrett, TJ Watt chipped more. In fact, Rashawn Gary 21%, TJ Watt 36% of the time. Should we even bother to look at TJ Watt's stats, or can we just assume that it's significantly better than Rashawn Gary despite being chipped? Second of all, was Rashawn Gary chipped this much in the past, or is this a new thing where they're chipping him all the time? Of course it's not a new thing. They've always done this all the time to Rashawn Gary. Third of all, we've already looked at snaps that don't include any chips, and he's not doing a good job there. So if you're listening to this show and that swayed you, then you just don't care about what I'm saying. You're just begging anyone to give you any reason to believe what you want to believe. It's not a satisfactory answer. It's not good enough. It doesn't answer the question. I'm so sorry. Randy, what's going on?
Hey, Ryan, it's Minnesota.
What's up?
Wow, how happy are we that Aaron Rodgers is out of our lives? The only thing that could have made this better if he could have done this to, like, I don't know, Minnesota or Detroit. Yeah, I'm so glad that this drama's over with for us. And
I was, I might have been in a camp by myself because there seem to be two camps. There's the, pro-Rodgers camp and then the anti-Rodgers. And all the anti-Rodgers people were like, I want the drama gone, for the most part. I feel like I was the only one that was like, I don't think it's good to keep Rodgers. I think moving on is the right decision, but I'm going to miss the drama, man. I'm going to miss that saga. The good news is, as much as it might annoy people occasionally, I don't have to stop tuning into the drama. I get to enjoy it from afar. I get to look at it, laugh about it, and realize it has nothing to do with my football team. There are no negative implications to the drama. It's beautiful. It's a really beautiful thing.
Boy, as far as getting Salah in the building, I just don't know how that would work. There would be a lot of hard feelings, I think, developed on that defensive side. We got enough problems going on there as it is.
Yeah.
But, I'm just like everyone else. I'm hoping this is the week we show up and actually play
This is the week.
4 quarters. That would be sweet for once.
Nice.
That was all I got. Go Pack, go. Bye.
Yeah, I agree with all that. The drama's over there. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the living crap out of it. Always loved it. I still get to talk about it. It's beautiful. And there's nothing bad about it. So it's great. And yes, I'm hoping this is the week. Why not? It's at home. I feel like a comeback game's got to be at home. Feeling good in front of the fans. We got things clicking. I'm sure there's plenty of excuses. Well, Christian's been out a while, and Romeo was out for a week, and Jordan's still coming back from that knee injury. There's plenty of excuses we can come up with, I'm sure. But it'd be nice if we just didn't for once. You know what I mean? Can we just not for once just decide to make excuses for everything and just do a good job? You know what I mean? It's so much easier. Just do a good job. And then we don't have to do this game where you did a bad job and we got to pretend that you didn't because, reasons. Like, let's just not do that. Let's just play well. And I'm not asking for dominant 4 quarters. I'm just saying play well. Just do your job at a satisfactory level, which will be enough to win, which is a good thing. There's sometimes maybe that's not even good enough. You got to be a little above and beyond. Probably not, though. But no, 4 quarters. I'm not saying 0 drops, 0 penalties, but let's have like a normal amount of drops and penalties, which is very little, especially drops. We're somewhere around 0, 1 or 2 at the most. I think would be sort of a normal amount. I'm just saying, do whatever you want to do. That's just my preference. But whatever.
Hey Ryan, this is Nico.
Hey.
Just listening to your pod late tonight. Talking about the Romeo Doubs thing. I tell you, what a bummer. I just made a comment a couple, podcasts about how I loved everyone's attitude, and I don't know. We don't know why he, did what he did. The speculation is, his hits and how it's going to affect his pay. Like, okay, yeah. My thing on that is, if you're good, the game will flow to you, right? Whether you double or triple team, Reed caught that ball in triple coverage. I mean, and Doubs has done that. Just that pass to Reed last week actually reminded me of the one in Kansas City that he dropped down like a freaking rainbow to Doubs in between all those other defenders.
Sure.
Just like that. So it's like, I hate to say this, but if he's going to have that kind of attitude, I'd just get rid of him. I don't like that kind of attitude in the locker room. I think that's kind of what, and everyone's mentioned this, Now, I'm not a Rodgers hater like, some people are. But I think his attitude's kind of permeated. Like, I'm a veteran. I do what I want. Yeah, whatever. And that's a bummer that it's happened at a Dobbs because, I forget what round we got him in. But, I mean, yeah, I guess he wants to make $30 million a year. But, I mean, there's something to be said to... He could go make $30 million a year, with Jacksonville or the Raiders or, I don't know. These guys are so blessed to go to the team that they did at the time they did with Jordan Love. To me, it would be awesome to just be drafted by the Packers, run your career out, do what Butler did. Leroy Butler, you've heard of him. Take team-friendly contracts and stay in a good team, in a good system, and then become a freaking demigod. When Leroy Butler walks around Green Bay, he definitely probably don't have to pay for nothing. Everybody loves him, like more than themselves, right? And that's not the same for, guys that kind of left, So it's just a bummer. I was thinking about that couple games ago, that catch to Reed, where he started on the left-hand side of the formation, he kind of slanted, he was wide open. It was one of the big plays. And the reason why he was wide open is because when he made that cut, all the defenders followed Christian Watson. So Christian Watson, he didn't catch that ball, 3 minutes. But yeah, Watson, he didn't make the awesome, catch that was the highlight of everything. But he's the reason that catch was made, because 3 dudes followed him down the left-hand side of the field, and they just let Reed get. So, I don't know, it's just a bummer, that he's like this. And I hope it's not I want to make more money kind of thing, because I just hate that. And, I've been doing this long enough where I can look back at players that have done this, and to be honest, it usually doesn't end well with their career. I can't think of a lot of players that have done a little, I want this, I want that. Emmitt Smith held out for a couple games, but he was already in his prime. Of course, he's going to keep doing what he's doing with that freaking offensive line. Heck, you could rush for 200 yards a game when you were like 5 back in the Emmitt Smith times. But I can't think of a lot of people that have, a lot of players that have done the I want a bunch of money thing and went somewhere else and kind of had a good career. I'm sure there's a few, because a lot of players have done the hold out for money thing. But I don't know, man. It's just a bummer that seems to be his attitude. My thinking is that if that's your attitude, it ain't going to get no better. It's a bummer. So, anyways, hey, you know what? A win is a win, even if it's ugly. We'll take an ugly win. I'm totally okay with that. Hopefully we can, if we have, if we win out the rest of the year, just win ugly every week and have an ugly win in Super Bowl, I could care less. I don't care if we gave up 200 yards rushing. We won by 3 points. I don't care. Anyways, let's just hope we have a good week against the Cardinals. They used to be a team I didn't hate, but after, 2015, I don't like them anymore. So Larry Fitzgerald used to be one of my favorite teams. I hate that guy now. So anyway, go Pack go. Here's to a good week. And hey, if they could get a second rounder for Dobby, I don't know what his compensation would be. You could probably tell us that. In lightning speed, because of all your knowledge and apps and stuff, things you have. If they get a second rounder, get him. Get that second rounder, dog. Unless he comes out and says, you know what, it's all good. I love this team. I want to be here forever and be an actor legend, because he can do that too. So I hope he does, because I like him. He got cool hair and everything. Anyway, I'm home now. I had to drop my son off the airport and find out Florida. I don't know why. All the hurricanes and crap going on, but. Here's to the Packers. Boom.
Yeah, I get it. I kind of want to slow roll the Dobbs thing a little bit. I'm with you as far as we've seen this play out, not just in Green Bay, but with other teams. Usually doesn't end well. I can't think of a lot of times where a player does what Dobbs did, and then just they never had any other issues, ever again. There was that one little flare up, and then just everything was perfect for the rest of his career. But I don't know. I don't know what happened. Maybe, again, they talked about a lack of communication. Maybe now that the team is aware, they can kind of stay on top of it. I don't know. So I'm not in trade-in mode yet. But yeah, I get where you're coming from, especially when, again, like you said, the game will come to you, the money will come to you. He may be in a situation, as I said before, where he is worth more money to another team than he is to the Packers. He's looking for wide receiver 1 money, possibly, high-end wide receiver 2 money. And the Packers are looking at it going, dude, we got Reed, we got Wicks, we got Watson, we got Kraft. We got to pay Watson, right? Because they're going to be looking for contracts at the same time. And then we're going to have to pay Reed next year and Wicks. I don't think so. Like we'll give you less if you're willing to take that so that you can stay here. And I don't think he will. I could see a scenario where it just doesn't work out. But I mean, technically that could be true of Watson too. But just given the situation, feels more like that would be a thing that could happen to Doubs. Especially, well, I don't even know. I don't know. But I think the Packers would be more, and maybe this is just my Watson bias, but more willing to up the price for Watson, partially because of the issues there and whatnot, but also just because he brings a dynamic that very few people can bring. Whereas when you look at Doubs, it's like, well, who can do what Doubs does? It's like Wicks. I mean, when he's not dropping stuff, Wicks. Again, I think Reed and Wicks are probably better route runners. They're both incredible after the catch. If we're talking about high point 50-50 ball, maybe you give it to Doubs, like he's good at that kind of stuff, reliable target, but it's really hard. And again, Wicks is having problems recently, the last, this season with drops, but, if that gets cleaned up, I mean, those two guys are everything, in my opinion, that Doubs is. I love how hard Doubs works. I love how much he cares about it. I like Doubs and everything. I'm not trying to come down too hard, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's kind of, I've been saying this since last year. It's hard to find a spot for Doubs when you got guys that are basically Doubs, just maybe a little bit better. But for the time being, I am happy that he's here. Hope that they get it figured out. He's going to make some good plays for us, some big plays for us. But there are several red flashing signs right now that lead me to believe that he may not be a long-term Green Bay Packer. But anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.